Shari Lewis, what's a nice girl like you doing in a business like this?
Well, it's a nice business. It's really a very lovely business. My husband is a book publisher, and we just sat and had dinner, and we're experimenting with some new stuff next show, and it really gives us a great deal to work on, a great deal to share. We meet an awful lot of nice people. Um, I live in nothing but the nicest hotels when I travel. You know, it's really a very pleasant business. Just having something to tackle, something to overcome.
I don't know what you mean, tackle,
Well,
overcome.
I find most people live very dull lives. They look for entertainment. They look for things to interest them. I don't have to look. The challenge of fixing an act, of perfecting a piece of comedy material, it's very exciting. Because no matter what work you do at home, I do my homework. I really do. You don't know what's going to get a laugh till you get in front of an audience. So we opened last night here at the Sahara. I'm with Donald O'Connor, and he's doing his wonderful Shakespeare routine. Have you ever seen it? Oh, it's marvelous. He does Shakespeare as the Bard would have rewritten it to be performed in the cafes by the major performers. He does Jackie Gleason as Henry VIII. And yeah, oh, it's great. And he does Sammy Davis Jr. as Othello with a huge Jewish star around his neck. I mean, the whole thing is terribly funny. Now, this is a routine Donald's done once before here in Vegas, or a couple of times, and it is perfected. It's brilliant.
No, but I want to talk about Shari Lewis now.
No, what I'm saying. Now, I got a brand new comedy routine. I'm doing about 21 minutes, all new stuff. So that we've got such a delicious chore, because now we got all the polishing to do and all the edges to get off. And it's a lot of fun. Lying there on the floor is Fred Astaire, a big 5'8" puppet. And
Now, wait, I better explain it. We're back in the dressing room. I didn't even say that. And there is a 5'8" tall puppet in a trunk. Although he's sitting up now, the trunk is open, and it's Fred Astaire.
Beautiful.
And what do you do with this huge puppet of Fred Astaire?
Dance with her.
Oh, silly question.
Yes, it was. and now that is a brand new number, and finding the way the lights should be, and finding out where the music should be, and where the comedy comes in a thing like that. You can't do that except with an audience to tell you that, yeah, that's funny, or no, that's not funny. You may laugh, kid, but it's not funny. And I wouldn't give up the pleasure of that for all the world.
I don't know why, Shari. I have 3 kids at home who are great Shari Lewis fans, and I always think of you as working with children.
Goodness.
No, I didn't mean I don't know why they're Shari Lewis fans.
Goodness.
But I don't know why I think of you as working primarily with youngsters.
Well, I did a children's show from the time I was in high school for, maybe 8 years. I did 3 years of it on the network on NBC. And I stopped doing children's shows 3 years ago exactly. And I haven't done a children's show since. And I will never do another children's show.
Why?
Well, it was wonderful. I loved it. I was brought up to it. My father was the official magician for the city of New York for 23 years.
Wait. What's the official magician for the city of New York? I didn't know the city of New York had a magician, except maybe in the treasurer's office.
Yeah, where do you think all the money goes? Well, my father was hired by our late, great LaGuardia to get the boys off the street, because that was Depression time, and the boys were becoming bad boys just because they didn't have anything to do, you know. So he started magic clubs all throughout the city.
And the city of New York hired him as their official magician.
Yeah. And so I was brought up to children's entertainment through Papa. And about 3 years ago, my show on NBC went off NBC. And why are you mopping your brow? In spite of what
It's very warm in
in
here.
spite of what the other hotels do, the Sahara has excellent air conditioning. And about 3 years ago, we decided we just had it. We wanted to do the kind of show where we didn't have to worry about the frame of reference of the audience. For example, with kids, you constantly have to ask yourself, do they understand what I'm saying? And am I being too sophisticated? Do they know the subject matter that I'm dealing with? Are the words too grown up? I don't have to worry about that. All I have to worry about is, do they laugh or don't they? And the answer, of course, is not always yes. But the fact is, then you change it next show. I must say I'm much happier in nightclubs than I ever was in TV.
Working with adults, you mean, with adult audience?
Well, it's not just the adults. The adults are great, yeah, because they do understand. Or if they don't, you can make them understand, you know. But what's lovely is, if it doesn't go one show, you change it and try it 2 hours later. In television, once you've done it, it's committed. You know, it's forever. And then you don't get a chance to go back and try it again.
And sometimes you don't really know, unless you're working with an audience, what the response was.
Yes, the funny thing is that even when you're working with an audience, sometimes audiences laugh, and you say to yourself, well, I guess it was all right, but it wasn't as good as it should have been. I did a show with Tony Randall, Hippodrome, a CBS show. We did it in England, and it was done in a very funny circumstance in a great big circus arena, you know. And when I got all finished, I thought it wasn't very good. And then I came home, really a little depressed, you know, you try. And I thought I had traveled so many miles for a not terribly good show. And I got home and I saw it on the air a couple of weeks ago. And Lamb Chop and Tony Randall were adorable. And I was so pleased. So the TV is much more perplexing. You don't get the immediate reaction. You're very right there.
Well, I just think being a ventriloquist is kind of a long shot. I mean, kind of a strange occupation, really, for a girl. I mean, there aren't even very many men ventriloquists around. I don't know any ventriloquists personally, much less girl ventriloquists.
Well,
Ventriloquum. Ventriloquariums.
ventriloquaz.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Is that what you meant? It's a whole kettle of fish. You know, there are a lot of words. The conjugation of the word ventriloquism always kills me because what I do is a ventriloquial skill. And that's the word that people usually wrap their tongue around and end up with it stuck in their eye teeth.
Say it again.
Ventriloquial.
Oh.
Yes. Well, I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, you don't find yourself coming and going.
Do your lips move?
No.
Not at all?
Not even when I talk to my husband.
I've seen ventriloquists who cheat a lot because their lips move. Don't your lips move at all?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think that's terribly important, by the way. I try not to because it's one of those things people look for. And once they see that your lips aren't moving, then they can sit back and enjoy the show. I think what's important, look, nobody's lips move as much as Edgar Bergen, but there's nobody who's good as Mr. Bergen because his characters are divine. I mean, Charlie McCarthy is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you pinch him, he's going to go ouch and bite you back. And that's nice.
Is he the best? Is he acknowledged among ventriloquiaria? Do you guys think he's the best?
Well, you know, it's not a matter of best. That's like asking dancers whether Fred Astaire is the best. There may be dancers who can do better turns and do better taps, perhaps, I don't know, and all of that. But he is the master. And Edgar Bergen was the first important ventriloquist in American history. There were ventriloquists in the vaudeville circuit. In fact, there was a lady called Madame Trixie.
Really? When was that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard about her in the vaudeville days. But he was the first important ventriloquist. And what was so important was his art rather than his craft. Because while his lips did move, the characterizations that he did were thorough and dimensional and alive and lovely and emotional and good and nice.
And trustworthy and loyal and helpful. And
For all I know, Edgar Bergen bit him every night.
Well, I must ask you this. Every time we talk to someone who's very, very successful and everything is going well, are we out of time?
No.
Oh, Donald O'Connor just came.
I've just done my Donald O'Connor commercial. Donald, this is Jack Carney.
How do you do, Don?
How you doing?
Very
to see
nice
you.
to know you. Sherry just did 7 minutes on your act.
No, you know,
You tell all my jokes already.
No, I didn't tell one.
Thank goodness. You'll go over then.
Oh, no, I was telling Donald when we started this run, and he asked me to be with him, I do some little things leading in to his Shakespeare routine. When Donald asked me to do it, I went out of my mind because I consider that Shakespeare hunk to be the classic nightclub routine. And all over California, I was there for 6 weeks, right before we came here. People would say, what are you doing in Vegas? And I would tell them Donald's act. Made a regular fool of myself.
Well, I look kind of silly with lamb chop, I'll tell you.
Donald, I just asked a question. Do you personally know another lady ventriloquarium, a ventriloquist?
Another one? I'd tell you, one of the greatest that I think that...
Don't say Lady Trixie. We went through that.
No, this was... She had quite an act. I don't know if Shari would remember a woman by the name of Julia Curtis.
No.
Well, years ago, she was great. She would go in and she had so many voices, and she used to pick out...
Serious, I And I never heard of her.
Yeah, Julia Curtis was her name, and she was fabulous. She used to take, for instance, my two brothers and myself, whenever we'd work on the bill with her, we would be the dummies for her, and she would have a different voice for each of us. Like my brother Jack, she would have a high voice, my brother Billy, a lower voice. And for me, something ridiculous. But wherever she worked, she used to go to the acrobats if she was working with acrobats one week and so forth. And she never used dummies, she used real people.
Donald, when we do the Hollywood Palace together, maybe we could do that.
If I can remember her act, we will.
All
That'd
right.
be
And
cute,
if I can
sure.
recreate her act. Donald and I are doing Hollywood Palace together. Do you know when it's aired? I don't, dear.
I don't know yet.
Donald is emceeing the Hollywood Palace, and I'm going to be on it. I know that we tape it sometime in November, I think.
Well, I hope so. It'd be nice. It'd be wonderful. We can break in some things here.
Listen, I asked Shari a minute ago if Edgar Bergen was considered the best ventriloquist, and she said that there really is no such thing as best. And then she said it's like if you were dancing, or talking about dancing, and if you said, is Fred Astaire the best? And she felt there really isn't such a thing as the best in a given field, like
I
dancing.
said he's the master, but there are people who do more turns and do better kicks and do better taps, But he's the classic, and his style was inimitable. You can't compare.
Yeah, I agree with Shari there, because you can't, even though, like, if you take Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly, they can fake each other's styles, but they're totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Each one has their own characteristics. And that's the toughest thing whenever I'm asked about people. For instance, who is my favorite actress or my favorite actor? And really, I've got so many. It depends upon what they're doing. I may find I would say Charles Lawton when he did Rembrandt. I feel that he is the man that did it just perfect, and no one else could quite do it like him. I would say the given performance was the thing.
Mm-hmm. Like Thomas Mitchell as Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman.
That's correct. That is correct. But I don't think I really could pick out a favorite.
Well, on the topic of dancers, I thought it was kind of interesting. We talked to Mel Torme, and we were
he's
talking.
a hell of a dancer.
And we were talking about important singers, and Mel Torme said he felt that Fred Astaire was one of the finest singers of the generation. The way Fred Astaire handles a lyric, and I said, I don't think he's got any voice. He said, oh, he does have a voice, and a great interpreter of a song.
Well, that's why Cole Porter loved this man so much, because he interprets a song. He's like Frank, when he goes out. There's lyrics, what he, I don't know, what would you call it, Shari? Not a troubadour, but a man who sings lyrics,
A lyric singer.
No, a
See, that was clever.
ventriloquiarian.
No, do you know there's something very interesting, though, Donald? I do the Fred Astaire, the I Love Fred Astaire in my act. I sat with Fred Astaire records. I have 6 or 7 of them for hours. Now, I'm a good imitator. Couldn't imitate Fred Astaire for nothing. Because what he did was he sang each particular set of lyrics, but it is not as if he had a particular voice or a particular kind of phrasing or one of those gnarled styles that would make it imitable. It was just, he did each song differently. I ended up saying, I can't imitate him. And I really felt rather defeated by it.
It's very simple. All you do is, must you dance every dance? See how simple it is?
Yeah.
That sounded like
Sounded
lamb
like Rock
chop to me.
You got the words right, Donald.
Listen, I'll leave you alone. I know you've got to get dressed. So I'll go back over and I'll be waiting for you on stage, okay? All right, sweetheart. Hey, it was nice talking
Donald,
with
a
you.
pleasure. Thank you very
Hope
much.
I get to see you soon.
I hope so, too.
Really, the only reason I'm leaving is because I have nothing more to say.
All right. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Donald.
Sherry, I'm in about the same boat. I have nothing more to say, and you're about to go on. All this time, Sherry's been putting on her makeup and doing her hair and all these things, and maybe that's why I'm so overheated.
Terrible job of my makeup. When you look, I just made my nose deep brown. Now, what am I going to do with a deep brown nose with the rest of me pink?
Sherry, can I tell you something?
What?
You look exactly like Fred Astaire.
You're a nut. I wish you very good luck with
Thank you.
this new radio show.
Thank you very much. It
I
was
think
a pleasure.
It's a wonderful idea for a show to come from Vegas. I've never understood why TV shows don't come from Vegas.
Well, I think they're starting to now.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, because I do believe that theater should come from all parts of the country, not just from California.
Sherry, thank you again, and give my best to Fred Astaire and to Lamb Chop.
Thank you. Bye.